Hello, friends, and welcome to Season 2, Episode 2, DeFi Alliances, with your host, Link Speaker.
And Crypto Kai.
We're also very excited to have a special guest on the show, Rashid Ajah, founder and CEO of Alliance Block. In today's episode, we are going to do a deep dive into the Chainlink and Alliance Block partnership, the future of DeFi, and hear from Rashid on why his company picked Link as the Oracle solution. So, let's get right to it. So Rashid, I'd like to start off the show here with allowing you to introduce yourself, what you do at Alliance Block, as well as what Alliance Block is and does for some of our listeners that maybe this is their first exposure to Alliance Block.
Yeah, so first of all, thank you very, very much for having me. And I'm really happy to be here to speak about Alliance Block and specifically our collaboration with Chainlink. So in few words, so as you said, my name is Rashid Ajah, founder and CEO of Alliance Block. I've been in investment banking for more than 10 years where I work as quant. So I was basically modeling and giving the price for financial instruments. And then I moved to France where I was leading research team in AI at Vinci. And then I started actually in 2017 investing in crypto. So we all lived basically the up and down of crypto, the euphoria, and also like all the crypto winter. And I saw when we were doing a lot of ICOs, I saw a lot of problems actually because of transparency, the project that having fund, but actually they don't deliver. So we started to think about something, and I met my co-founder Matthijs in Telegram. Actually, we have never met before. And after a few conversations, I spoke also to my best friend Amber. She was at that time at JP Morgan in trading. And we started to see basically that we can actually do kind of decentralized investment platform. And from there, we had long journey where we spent a lot of time in different incubators. So in Switzerland, in Paris, and UK. And we spoke with a lot of financial institutions. And actually, we saw a lot of interest into asset tokenizations, into digital assets. At that time, we didn't hear a lot about DeFi, but as you know, DeFi exists since Bitcoin because Bitcoin is decentralized finance. But before the hype in 2019, actually, we have released our first paper, green paper, which speak about creating a DeFi ecosystem. And we saw that actually what is blocking institutional finance to come to decentralized finance and to be able to interact with the tokenization of assets and bring all the money from traditional finance to decentralized finance, it's because of regulation. So we started really going and pivoting around compliance and regulations. And from there, we started to have this vision about creating a protocol that will bridge the decentralized finance and traditional finance and bring benefits to both areas to one another. Because as you know, traditional finance, there is a lot of money, but a lot of legacy systems, super complicated, a lot of costs, and they are struggling to have new products, to have new kind of users. DeFi, it's kind of new, but it's going super fast, amazing technology. It's going more and more, it's answer to more and more things that traditional finance are looking for with cutting costs, increasing revenue stream, and creating new revenue stream. And actually, if we manage to build basically a bridge that take the high standard of traditional finance and using the amazing technology in DeFi, so we can really be able to build the future of finance. And this is why when you speak about bridge, you need to speak not only about products, financial products, and all what we see in DeFi, but we need to speak about oracles, because without oracles, you don't have price. Without price, you cannot have pricing of financial instruments. And this is why Chainlink is really important. And yeah, we are really excited about this opportunity.
Well, first of all, thank you so much for that description. My co-host here, Crypto Kai, and I were actually talking about this, and we were like, this would be what better way to learn as much about Alliance Block as possible in a short period of time than having the founder and CEO come on, right? So I just learned so much just from listening to you talk about that, and I've read your white paper. So we definitely appreciate that. Now,
thank you.
Before we even dive into our questions, do you see DeFi as a revolution like a lot of us true crypto extraordinaires see? Do you see it as a revolution?
100%. 100%. And I will tell you what is my opinion. So as I said earlier, basically, DeFi, it's amazing technology. As we can see, anyone can provide liquidity, anyone can trade, we can create NFTs, we can basically make assets that are passive into assets that become active and give you some yield. And all the combinations, so we are seeing people like that are doing lots of stuff on liquidity mining, on liquidity aggregation, on derivatives, on like yield optimization, and all this kind of DeFi. Actually, we of course like we have bonds and data. So all these things, like if you take them just independent, they will not have an impact. But if you take all these amazing projects, amazing idea, and you create kind of ecosystem that mimic what is happening in traditional finance, from trade executions to liquidity aggregation to liquidity providers to data management, all what we see to regulations and compliance, actually this is what will really make DeFi a true player into traditional finance. And let me speak about something that happened in retail banking. So a few years ago, we saw what we call digital transformation in retail bank. So DBS, which is one of the biggest bank in Singapore, they started to do the digital transformation, and they said, okay, we have huge legacy system. It costs millions, if not billions. It's impossible to change all the infrastructures. So what we will do, we will build a layer on top of this legacy system, and we will have API that can plug to multiple service providers. And in less than 18 months, they managed to disrupt completely their model. They had access to huge amount of users. They have, of course, changed the way of you have like the user journey, and they managed to bring amazing revenue. And now DBS is one of the best. And since then, we saw Revolut, for example, we saw neobanks that now you can create basically a digital bank in less than 8 months. And this is also thanks to what we call the core banking systems. So you have core banking system providers, and you can basically create bank from scratch with just putting kind of Lego and putting them together and construct all this new, I would say, companies that disrupt the the retail banking. So for me, in my opinion, this is exactly what which will happen to traditional financial institutions, including investment bank. Investment bank costs shitload of money. When we speak about compliance and regulations, it costs to financial institutions up to 10% of their yearly revenue. We can speak here about billions because it's manual process, it's heavy, and it's not open basically to transformation. And this is where we see, and without even speaking about what we call capital market infrastructure providers. So all the providers that provide the infrastructure to these financial institutions, it costs a lot, and there are just small number of players. Now, instead of speaking about these infrastructure providers, we can see DeFi as infrastructure providers. Okay, and with all these elements, like we can have different asset class, we can have the liquidity, as we say, the aggregation, everything, the oracles, of course. And when you put them together and you add a layer of compliance and regulations with KYC AML, this is what will make traditional finance come in and investing and borrowing or lending while leveraging DeFi. And this is why I am excited, because I am 100% certain that DeFi will disrupt traditional finance. I have absolute no doubt. It can take 2 years, 5 years, or 10 years, but it will come. And we can even see maybe fork from Uniswap with a layer of KYC AML plus cross-border regulation and transactions, okay? And it could be used between 10 or 20 banks that will allow their clients to be able to provide liquidity and trade digital assets between them. So the opportunities here are huge. And let me finish. Maybe I am like taking too long because this is something that I'm passionate about. Yeah, I'm passionate about. But I can tell you one example. High net worth individual, basically there are individuals that have lots of wealth. And as we know, they are asset rich and cash poor. So sometimes they need to have short-term financing, okay? And by putting collateral, their assets. And sometimes it's complicated to have this from the banks, because the banks, they like, especially the private banks and wealth manager, they like to have what we call high asset under management, but they don't want to have the risk in their balance sheet. They don't want to support the risk. And what happened with DeFi is we will create the link between this high net worth individual that will collateralize their real assets. We can see collectible cars, we can see arts, maybe luxurious watch, and it will be collateralized, and they will be able to get some short-term financing from DeFi peer-to-peer lending platform. And actually, this is one of the product that we are building that will go in Q2, is that we will allow high net worth individual to borrow money from DeFi users by collateralizing their assets, and we will create new kind of product thanks to these NFTs, and it will open huge opportunities here. So yeah, to answer really quickly to your answer, I would say summary, 100% DeFi will disrupt traditional finance.
And that is exactly what Crypto Kai and I have talked about in the past too, is when you look at traditional finance compared to this DeFi revolution that is happening, the platform for literally being able to get yield, passive yield, somewhere between 5, 10, sometimes as high as 30% or more yield on passive income, is just that avenue in itself is massively attractive to all investors. So it's very exciting to kind of see where this future is going, and it sounds like you guys are trying to make this a global scale, because traditionally markets have been kind of confined to your countries. Whoever uses the dollar uses the dollar, whoever uses the pound uses the pound, but you guys are trying to bridge a global build a global bridge. It's very exciting.
Exactly. And you said something super interesting about yield. So actually yesterday we have released our medium where we speak about single-sided liquidity mining, because staking is good, but when you don't have really nodes, it's giving reward for reward. So what we are releasing in Q1 is basically people that will stake their ALBT or stake, for example, later on Link, or without having any impermanent loss, or they can stake just USDT or just Ethereum, for example, and they will be able to this liquidity will go to liquidity mining, and they will be able to earn reward from the staking, normal staking, but they will be also to earn trading fees. They will not have to support any risk of impermanent loss. So this is one of the products. But actually, if we go one step further, actually this will make us giving the opportunity of non-crypto people, instead of going to remittance account or to go to their bank account and deposit $100,000, for example, in their deposit account to get 2% or 3%, they will be able to deposit via our on-ramp partners, and we will do the conversion to USDC or to Ethereum or whatever, to stablecoin, sorry, okay? Will go to participate into the DeFi, which means into the liquidity, but it will bring them higher yield. So this is the first actually features that we will release, where we can have people that have never dealt with crypto benefiting from what is happening in DeFi.
Yeah, that's huge. I think the biggest thing with that is you get away from inflation. That's all deflationary assets is what that becomes for the average person. I think that'll be huge, and kind of sets DeFi even further away, and like you said, kind of disrupts the mainstream financial system. So
true, totally.
So there's a bunch of different options that you guys had, I'm sure, as far as picking oracles, but why did you guys pick Chainlink as your oracle solution?
So Chainlink, first of all, I am a supporter of Chainlink because I know it since a long time, and I've been also participated, and for me it was an example, especially the team, the researcher, and basically they were the first one to want to disrupt. How can we bring the data on chain that can people basically build products completely on this price feed and on chain, because it's easy to have off chain data providers, then you connect and that's it, and then you can build solution. And this is a lot of, and Oracle actually, it was one of the problems that is not solved for a long time. And we know if you want to disrupt and to make crypto, of course, going global and also having an impact on the traditional world, I would say the traditional finance, but much more than traditional finance, you need scalability, of course, you need interoperability, of course, but you need oracles. Oracles are everywhere. So I can give you an example. So Avaloq in Switzerland, which is one of the biggest core banking system providers, they build oracles within the banks. Of course, it's not decentralized, but oracles, like everyone know what is Oracle. Chainlink, they were the first one to build this solution, okay? And being able to build this price feed to everyone that they can build innovative products. So tomorrow we can see, thanks to this price feed, we can see decentralized Bloomberg terminal. We can see decentralized investment terminal, completely decentralized, using completely decentralized price feed. And this is why it was, I would say, a logical step for us to work with Chainlink. And I think we may have even more exciting news later on. And I am really waiting to see like how it will goes. But this actually, the fact that using Chainlink, it's not just basically integrating the price feed of Chainlink, but because, as you know, lately, we have an agreement with London Stock Exchange, which means having access to data of London Stock Exchange. And even bigger than that, London Stock Exchange, they have bought Refinitiv. Refinitiv is one of the biggest data provider in the world, and they have acquired for $27 billion. It's basically like Bloomberg, like Reuters, and $27 billion, it's kind of huge amount, lot of zeros. And actually this means it's open us access as Alliance Block to have access to this data. And it's not just financial data. You can find ESG data, which is super important, like now in terms of investment decisions. So economic, social, and environmental, social, and governance score. And you have many indices. So imagine that now, if we have the opportunity to have these feeds and to be able to propose them to Chainlink, that can propose them in decentralized way. So imagine the opportunities that we will have here and the amazing product that we can build. And excuse me, but I will go maybe in 5-10 years in the future. I am like, thanks to all these blogs that we are seeing here, we can see completely decentralized investment bank. I know that investment bank, a lot of people don't like because it has bad connotation, but I would speak about the positive side. Investment, lending, trade executions, all what we are seeing now in DeFi, it's existing investment world. And we can see completely decentralized infrastructures, okay? That is completely based on decentralized price feed. And we can have algorithmic trading is completely decentralized. We can have trading strategies completely decentralized based on this price feed. And it's really amazing. And this is why it was a normal solution for us to be able to collaborate with Chainlink.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, I mean, kind of tying it back into what we just previously talked about. So you can kind of see Chainlink being a very big and like crucial piece to making this DeFi revolution and disrupting all this, normal daily things that we see with the current financial system.
Yes, definitely. I think the oracles, Chainlink are doing this, and I think once we have the true oracles with all the price feeds, with connections not only from price feed from DeFi and crypto, but also price feed coming from traditional world, yes, definitely, it will be huge revolution, and we want to participate in this revolution, and we will bring the traditional aspects, and thanks to collaboration, like Chainlink will be able to provide this data. And this will happen actually through our data tunnel. So soon we will release our proof of concept, and you can see that our data tunnel basically it will be fed by data providers, centralized or decentralized, and then it will be connected to Chainlink or others, but specifically Chainlink, and we will be able to provide them with this data that will go completely in decentralized price feed. So we can see here that there is a huge synergy, but not only synergies, but to answer to your question, yes. Thanks to this and having these two words, Chainlink will have a huge role to play. And the team is amazing, and I can see that they are doing an amazing job without speaking about the amazing community behind, which is unique. So that's really cool.
Yeah, definitely. So kind of stepping aside from that, there was another huge announcement that we all saw, I think about a week ago, that you guys made about joining the London Stock Exchange Group partner platform. So a lot of our listeners might not be familiar with that. So could you possibly break that down a little bit more for them?
Yes, of course. So London Stock Exchange is the second biggest stock exchange in the world. And it's not about stock, just trading stock, but it's also, as I said just before, they are acquiring many big companies. So LSE, it's also data providers about all their data that they have. They have linked to all basically centralized authority in traditional finance, and also which is super important is acquisition of this Refinitiv for 27 billion. It's huge deal. that will make them to be one of the biggest data providers in the world, actually. And this is actually huge news for us, because this collaboration will make us taking our products and deploying them on LSE infrastructures, which mean that it will, like, all clients of London Stock Exchange, private banks, investment banks, wealth managers, asset managers, will be able to have access to this product. And because we are completely tied to DeFi and leveraging all this technology and building ourselves some of the cool technologies in DeFi, we will be able to do this bridge, this compliant bridge. And having some of our infrastructures within London Stock Exchange is also a validation for us, for the traditional finance client to use us, because they will say it's not just anonymous team that is building complete decentralized solutions that we want, even if it's amazing, they will never use it because of compliance, basically. So I think this is something that is a huge step. We spent, I think, since the first time we start speaking to them till we signed the agreement, it took us 18 months. So you can see also how long to deal with traditional financial institutions. It's not like crypto, absolutely not. But it takes time, but it's worth it. Sorry. And here, actually, it is a huge use case. And you remember that the first article we released about our collaboration with Chainlink spoke about providing price feed from big stock exchange. So actually, we were speaking about London Stock Exchange, and which mean that we will be able to connect Chainlink to London Stock Exchange and to be able to provide these price feeds. So this is why we think it's an amazing opportunity.
It sounds like such an amazing work of art, honestly, because when I have been talking to anyone about DeFi, when I talk to anyone about crypto that's kind of new to it, the biggest thing that they are worried about is compliance. And so you guys are building the entire compliance infrastructure potentially of the DeFi space. And so that's very exciting. Now,
exactly.
I have the interesting opportunity of having, a CEO on. So once again, thank you so much for coming on. So
I'm really glad to hear.
I want to kind of pick your brain a little bit. Like, can you, to the best of your ability, describe what the future of DeFi looks like to you? Like in 5-10 years, you kind of backtrack or, said 5-10 years down the line, but can you take us a step further? How do you see this as an innovator? Where do you see this future going?
So it's like, this is why I am excited every day, because as we say, like the future is not predicted, the future is built. So, and like a lot of people now in the decentralized finance space are actually building the futures. So before Airbnb, no one would trust that someone will live into someone's house till Airbnb came. There is, of course, the idea, and there is the timing. And we can see that there are so amazing technologies that are building now that will have impact on 5-10 years. So if I may speak about the future of DeFi, I can tell you, which is one, having like oracles, okay, that will be able to connect compliantly with all the different price feed that we see. Because, okay, let me like reward. And like, if you take now the biggest data providers, they work in licensing fees. Licensing fees, it's super expensive, and it's super old as a system. Now, thanks to DeFi and thanks to oracles, these guys, data providers such as LSE, such as Refinitiv, such as Bloomberg, such as Reuters, such as MSCI Index, they will be able to provide their data into decentralized world, not mandatory on-chain, but at least they can provide them, and people will have access to them via role-based access control. And you can build this, as I said before, decentralized investment terminal. So for me, I see exactly what is happening in investment banking, from trade execution to algorithmic trading to quantitative trading to all these kind of fancy teams that are in front office. I see them in DeFi. I see basically all representations of assets, equity, bonds, FX, derivative, structured products. We will see more and more people trading options, which will make the options more liquid, which mean that we will be able to price more innovative derivatives on synthetic assets, but also on crypto assets, because we need to have like much more liquidity. And I see that we will have more liquidity. Some things also inefficiencies. So more we will have users, more we will have scalable technologies, more we will have accurate data. We will see less inefficiencies, which mean less arbitrage, which mean even bigger opportunities to bring all the traditional players to DeFi. And I can see exactly what we have seen in the digital transformation in retail banking. We will see new generation of infrastructures taken into account, of course, all what we see in DeFi, plus the compliance and regulations, plus all what's happening in the traditional world. And we will be able to deploy decentralized investment bank from scratch in few months that is open, inclusive, which is based on the participative economy, and everyone will get a bite on this, and not just only few people that are getting like a 1% getting 99% of the wealth. And this is DeFi, because once you do the peer-to-peer lending, and you can basically have SMEs in Indonesia, in Africa, they will be able, thanks to DeFi, raise money, okay, without going to the banks and like spending months and months and seeing their basically their I would say refused their loans. There will be people that are lending to SMEs, which mean participating and impacting the real economy. And yes, DeFi now it's quite decorrelated from the real economy, but the technology is built. It will have huge impact on the real economy. And there are so many things that we will see in the future. So this is why I'm really excited. And I truly believe that, in the next 5-10 years, we will have true participative economy, thanks to DeFi, that is reflecting exactly what is happening in traditional world and traditional finance in simpler way, in more inclusive way, and with proposing all the product that we'll see, and with less manipulation. Of course, there is manipulation everywhere. But the fact that it's transparent, and if we added a little bit of regulations basically to protect the users, because a lot of users deal with products, they don't know what they are, and at the end they are wrecked. So here we will see, like when we added this like part of regulation that protect the users, I think it will go much more than these 26 billions we are seeing now. I believe it will go to really trillions of dollars of value.
So you truly see mass adoption taking place on a massive scale once DeFi becomes more user friendly. So if you're talking about trillions, we're talking about a massive amount of money being dumped into the crypto space. So when do you see that mass adoption taking place?
One thing, regulations, and trying, like as we said, if you want to play with the big boys, sit at their table first, and then create new tables basically and bring them to your table. You cannot come with a new table and tell to all the big boys, okay, come join me in my new table. No one will follow you. So this is why, in my opinion, the first thing to do, instead of waiting for the regulations to come to crypto, actually using the current financial regulations, adapt them to be able to leverage some of the DeFi infrastructures and some of the digital assets that we can already use. Once you do this, actually you have one feet into the traditional world with DeFi. So some people, as I said earlier, they will deposit some cash account and will get higher yield. That's really good, because you have deposit account, and like you will bring more and more customers. Next, high net worth individual, they will be able basically to collateralize their assets, getting short-term financing, and their passive asset, they will become active and they will participate into DeFi. No one will say, no, I don't want money for my passive assets. This is the second point. The third, NFTs. We speak a lot about NFTs for collateralized assets. Actually, we are like seeing it in complete other way, and the way we are doing it. NFTs can represent a loan, okay? And this loan, basically, we can put it like into NFTs, and then we can get investors and propose new products. So if you take NFTs now, like institutional cannot invest into it. There is a way. If you take these NFTs that represent a loan and you wrap it into certificates, and it goes through what we call special purpose vehicle. So basically, in other words, it's securitization. Institutional will be able to invest in these NFTs on loan or on collateral. So it's another small step where you will bring institutional investors investing into products that have as underlines crypto or tokenization of assets. So I think all these small steps, it will start bringing little by little this money from institutional finance. And as like when you have penguins in front of the sea, when the first penguin jump to the sea, everyone follow. So when you have big banks or big institutions or big funds starting to jump in, everyone will jump in, and this is how it works.
Yeah. So what seems to be like not the so far future with all these little things stacking up. I'd like to take a second to kind of chat about something I noticed on your bio. And to quote, it says his impressive work received accolades from Vinci, which commissioned him to orchestrate the ambitious Smart Highways and Smart Cities project combining AI and blockchain. So, do you see Chainlink integrating into an ecosystem like this, for example, powering cities like Reno, Nevada, where the mayor announced that she is a Link Marine and wants to integrate Link into her city, to be an example?
Yes, like when you have Link, you have of course oracles. So what you can imagine that you have all data. So like now for Link, we speak about price. Okay, so when we speak about it could be extend to any type of data, to IoT data, to every single data that you can have basically by like all this IoT device or any kind of device. So now when you have this kind of decentralized oracles, so you will be able to not even need to use servers outside that will cost a lot of money. So you can use this kind of decentralized layer that can be deployed on top of these smart cities, and you will have some kind of bots that are giving information between each other. So you can use kind of smart bots that are that can move on the network and be fed by this data instantly. So yes, so I can see that there is huge potential, because now of course we are speaking just about, this is why we are really in the beginning, because once we have scalable oracles, we have scalable blockchain infrastructures, and we have and we will start having more opportunities to include more and more data, which mean that we can ingest like terabytes of data like in seconds or like whatever, and then we will be able to build kind of artificial intelligence on top of that. Okay, and now there is what we call federated learning. So federated learning is basically being able to do decentralized artificial intelligence. You don't need to get the data, but basically you transfer your algorithm. They will learn in the device of the different nodes or users, and then you never need to take their data. So it's completely anonymous. And we can basically see a lot of applications. So yeah, to answer quickly to your question, definitely I think the future is like we will have some amazing stuff, and blockchain, oracles, and AI will have like an impact not only in finance but in all other industries.
Yeah, that's something that Link Speaker and I tend to talk about a lot on the show here to get us to realize that this whole crypto space isn't just an investment per se. We kind of preach that Chainlink is going to be integrated into almost every single legacy system in the world. It will be completely revolutionary, don't you think, Link Speaker?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's extremely exciting just seeing more and more and more use cases that Chainlink has. Like when I think about Chainlink integrating into a city, that is extremely exciting to me. But it's to kind of take a step back too. If I were to think about, like, if I were an outsider and I'm just learning about blockchain, and now I'm hearing it's integrating into cities and DeFi, and it's kind of powering the world, I would want to make sure that something like that was like secure, you know?
Yeah.
So knowing security plays a large role in the decentralized capital markets and, well, really everything. How does the integration of Chainlink, in your opinion, optimize the integrity of the Alliance block systems?
So it's more about, like, I would say it's more about like when we speak about the integration of the Chainlink, it's more about data. And like once you have, like when we will give them basically, like imagine that we have, because the systems if we want to deploy our infrastructures on top of financial institutions, it need to be fully audited, it need to be completely secure, and it need to respect some kind of ISO norms, some norms about the data, transparency, how you have done the aggregation of the data, the traceability of the data. So there are a bunch of things that you must respect in order to be able that your software or your products be able to be deployed on the traditional financial institutions or to be used actually. So it's not just building a product and deploying it. It will never work. So there is huge steps that need to be done. Some steps that are technical, some steps are just basically putting documentation on top of everything that you are doing. So the regulations can come and tell you, okay, from which this data it came. So you need to be able to tell them that is came, you can trace the data since the source. So, and then it's everything about the systems that you deploy. So once we have this actually, so then you can use the Chainlink as oracles that will expose the price feed. Of course, the price feed cannot be completely public because this is the data providers, especially traditional, they will not want this. Okay, but once you do this, thanks to the Chainlink, we should be able basically to trace this data and to tell basically thanks to the, because it's on chain, so who is using it, who isn't using it. So even in terms of regulation, we will be able so to take, okay, yes, look, we can trace the data from the data providers through Alliance Block, through Chainlink, through the end users. And yeah, so this is something super important that can bring a lot of value to the traditional and decentralized space.
Well, thank you for answering those questions for us, sir. This, honestly, I've been in the crypto space for years now, and I still learn so much. There's so much to learn, and if this is educational for me listening to you speak, I'm very excited to see how educated the Link community becomes, not only on the future of Alliance Block, but the future of DeFi now. And so thank you for answering those Chainlink integration questions. But to kind of now refocus back on your company, Alliance Block, as the CEO of the company, what are you most proud of?
What am I so like proud of the team we have, and especially the fact that since 2018 we have went through like lots of up, lots of down, lots of euphoria, lots of like almost like to say, okay, we will abandon this, but actually like since August we have done so much things in such short period of time, thanks to really, as we call it, the no merciness of the team and all people working with us. And also like in terms of the partnership, each partnership that we have done, it has a real use case with the technical deep dive, with the product that will be released because of this partnership. So we never do partnership for hype. And the fact that we are really solving and bringing one of the unique value proposition into DeFi. And we don't see the most important things that we are proud of is we don't see ourselves as a standalone project, but for us, it's a combination of all players in the ecosystem. And the combination of all these players, it's the only way to be able to bridge truly the traditional finance. There will be never one player doing this by its own. And our philosophy, it's basically participative economy, building connection with people that truly believe in what they are doing. And I think this is exactly what we are proud of. We are proud, of course, because we have created in such short-term period of time this kind of ecosystem with really important partners and collaborators to be able to bring something new to the markets. And we don't see competitions because we believe that though all projects, you can have benefits from different kind of projects. So you need to harmonize everything and to create this ecosystem to be able to go further. And this is the only way if we want to DeFi to become, we see huge adoption in DeFi and maybe replace traditional financial systems. So yeah, so this is the thing that I am really most proud of.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, you guys have a lot to be proud of with what you're doing at Alliance Block. I mean, Link Speaker and I both think that you have an absolute all-star team. But we know that you have a busy schedule, and we don't want to keep taking a lot more of your time. So once again, we wanted to thank you for coming on, and kind of have one more closing question for you. If there was one thing that you wanted our listeners as Link Marines to take away about Alliance Block, what would that be?
It's the most complicated question. um, yes. The only takeaway is if we want to bridge traditional finance and decentralized finance, we need to take into account compliance and regulation.
Mhm.
I know that many people on the decentralized space are completely against regulation and compliance, and this is why decentralized finance exists. But unfortunately, it's a battle between David and Goliath. So if we want decentralized finance to become big and to have adoption, we need to do some concession in order to bring a little bit of compliance and regulation. In return, we will unleash this technology. So I think this is my takeaway. This is the thing that's, I want everyone to take it into account.
Well, I think that's a great ending point, honestly, because the only way we get traditional players on that have the billions and hundreds of billions, when you look at banks, of dollars and other currencies on board, is if they feel comfortable with the compliance, that the compliance system that is crypto, because it currently is seen as this risky or investment that governments haven't taken a position on. And when you take that wild card out, it's becomes a lot more of a safer investment.
Indeed, totally agree with you.
So once again, thank you so much for coming on board the show. Is there any final remarks that you would like to leave our listeners with?
I want to say, so thank you very much for having me. I am a first Link supporter, and I am super happy to be here. And the amazing discussions that I had with you guys and with many of the Link communities. So I want really to thank you for giving me this opportunity to speak with you about this subject that is really important for me, and I guess important to many, many, many people here.
Absolutely. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very, very much.
Oh, wow. What a conversation we just had with the CEO of ALBT, also known as Alliance Block. But as well, when all this is going on, we've seen some pretty amazing stuff from Chainlink as well in the past 24 hours. Let's talk about this price movement that we've been seeing. What do you say, Link Speaker?
Let's do it.
Yeah, so yesterday, last night, I know you and I weren't really having, a sit-down type of conversation, but around 7:38 p.m. Eastern time, we saw Chainlink take off and reach a brand new all-time high. I don't know about you, but I was watching this push, and from the very second it passed that previous all-time high we talked about in the last episode of 2563, I was ecstatic.
Oh, it was extremely exciting. Just watching it go, so it broke. We were Crypto Kai just said, we were kind of chatting through, and on Discord, and I just watched it hit that 25.50. It was struggling there for a second, and then it went up almost a whole $1 within a few minutes.
I think it was 5 minutes. My friend and I that I just recently link filled, we were sitting in a Discord call, and I mean we were going absolutely apeshit over this.
Oh, it's extremely exciting. I mean, so we're seeing a little bit of a pullback right now today, and we saw Bitcoin pull back to, let's see, right around the low 36,000s. It's looking like it could potentially be rebounding now. We're seeing a little bit of sell pressure at that 37 mark, but
we're seeing ETH actually kind of push really strong right now. It's still sitting around that 1643.
Wow, it's insane to think about the fact that Ethereum was in the mid 300s just a few months ago, and we're at 1641, and it's literally just this. We're February in the bull run year, guys. This is the second month of the bull run year, and we're already seeing massive yields and gains.
And speaking about a pullback from Chainlink, I mean, we're not talking about an average pullback. I mean, we're only talking this pullback. Our new all-time high is, from what I've seen, 26.19. And we're sitting at 24.25 right now. I don't know about you, but that makes me super excited for the future of Chainlink if that's what our pullback
exactly, if a pullback is just a few dollars, this is extremely exciting. And as we continue to talk about on the show, guys, the system isn't even live yet. The ecosystem is not live. Price is based on speculation, and we are seeing a push into the upper 20s, and I think soon to be 30s, without the staking system even going live. So that makes me extremely excited for the future of Chainlink, for the price, for all of those investors, but also just when the ecosystem goes live, we're talking about a constant upwards demand, because node operators will be incentivized to get more Chainlink. The more Chainlink they have, the more Chainlink they can make.
Yep,
So it's very exciting.
Once staking gets announced, it's going to be not necessarily a bloodbath, because the markets won't be bleeding, but I mean, Chainlink will quite literally be going to the moon that day. I believe we will see the first crazy face melting pump of this bull run year for Chainlink, at least.
Agreed. And it's just so crazy to think about, but we're still just getting started. This is going to be a very exciting year.
Yeah, real quick, just to touch on with this price movement, something that I noticed, that when we broke over that $26 mark and pushed up towards that 26.20 mark, we hit a very hard wall. Do you think that that's a new resistance line?
I think it's a resistance line that gets broken very quickly. If we look back at some of these charts, in going back, the last bull run, a lot of projects did this same thing. They retraced right before just going bananas, right? And so I think that's kind of where we're at. I think if I had to take a guess, somewhere mid-February, I think we're going to see a really fun push, especially with Bitcoin recovering as fast as it has been these last few days. It was super bearish. It stayed in the same consolidation period for a period of time, but now it's looking to want to raise some bull flags. And so I'm very excited to see what happens in general with the future of this market and where it takes us for the next month of this bull run. But guys, we want to kind of end it there. We don't want to make this episode too long for you guys. So much amazing content. We're very excited to have been able to have the founder and CEO of Alliance Block on. We will continue to keep you guys updated with the bull market actions. Make sure to listen to next week's episode. And please follow us on social medias. Our YouTube channel is at Link Centric, or it's just Link Centric, and then on Twitter it's at Link Centric. So go give us some follows. Anything you'd like to end the show off on?
Just stay tuned. Big things coming. As well, if you kind of like what we did with having someone like the CEO of Alliance Block on the show, let us know and we can see what other types of people we could bring on. It was an amazing experience, great conversation. I think it adds a lot to the show. So,
agreed. Thank you guys so much for listening through to the end, and have a fantastic day.